Elaine, and welcome to the LifeKraft podcast. LifeKraft is passionate about helping you live your everyday life better by sharing inspiration, awareness, and tools to enable you to create a fulfilling life. Allowing your truth to be heard can be one of the scariest things, but crafting your next level of life takes bravery, and so I asked actress, writer, and communication skills coach Ursula Botha to be our guest again to help us understand why speaking our truth is so important. We discussed the importance of knowing your narrative, what steps are needed to begin speaking your truth, the importance of embracing the sound of your own voice, and so much more. If you're ready to let your authentic voice be heard in the new year and the years to come, this episode is exactly what you need. So subscribe to the podcast, download this episode, and let us know what your biggest takeaway or aha moment was from the episode by leaving a positive review or sharing it on social media by tagging at the LifeKraft and at Ursula Botha. Enjoy the episode. Ursula, welcome to the LifeKraft podcast. I am so happy to have you back on here. How have you been? And welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you. I am so honored to be back on this podcast. What an honor. This is a podcast that has served me greatly this past year. So I want to say thank you and honor to be here.
You have been super busy these past couple of months. And one of the things that I absolutely love that you are doing is you are empowering people to find their voice and to use it. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I think if there's anyone I would want to have this conversation with, it's you, because you are so magnetic when you speak and you speak with such confidence. Have you always been this way? Is it something that someone is born with, or is it something we can learn to do?
Well, that is a great question. And thank you for all of that, those wonderful compliments. And Melissa, you know what? I think some people are maybe born super as confident speakers. You get those born confident speakers, which I think you are. But that was not my narrative. I was not a born.
No, that wasn't mine either.
Oh, okay,
I consider myself, I used to consider myself shy and afraid to speak. And I used to be very afraid to do public speaking. And I used to think that I have a little lisp that got better with the years. And I was so insecure. So I'm definitely one of those that wasn't born this way. No Maybelline here. None of it.
Well, then I have got goosebumps all over. And it shows that this is something, it's a skill that can be learned and you can master it through practice. I was also shy. My gran used to say to my mom, there's something wrong with your child. Like there's something really wrong with her. And my mom just said, she's just very shy. People used to say, what is wrong with you? And through practices like drama when I was growing up, all these little things helped me find my voice, started helping me express myself. And it's still, I think the throat chakra, for anybody who believes in the chakra, that's always been a big one for me, is speaking your truth. So the good news is that anyone can master this. When people say, oh, I'm not a good speaker, I'm shy, I'm scared of public speaking, or, because there's a lot of fear about public speaking because you expose yourself, expressing your ideas. Sometimes you need to be brave because there's a narrative in the world which might not relate to your truth. And it takes bravery to speak that truth and with confidence, but we'll get into that.
Oh, yes. I so relate to that because I think I really forced myself and I used speaking as a way to connect with people. And I used speaking as a way to kind of take the attention off of me when I was really insecure and when I was really shy. So I would speak quickly and I would immediately put all of the focus on someone else. But when you stand in front of a crowd or a boardroom, or you need to have a conversation with a family member, or you're in that moment where all eyes are on you, you can't shift the focus, you are the person people are listening to. It can be so scary. So how do we go about finding our voice? Because I know it took me years to really find my authentic voice, being okay with who I am. And in the yoga tradition, I learned that if you need to listen to your sound current, you need to be okay with the voice that is coming out of you, because that is you. That is your frequency. That is how you resonate with people around you. How do we go about finding our own voice?
Girl, preach. That was beautiful. So I think finding your voice, if we just unpack that concept, to me, it is about standing in your truth and then speaking that truth, which takes, like I said, it takes bravery. It definitely does. And now we're living in these interesting times where we can either hide even more. We can hide behind these digital screens, these Zoom meetings, this virtual age. There's a lot of hiding going on. We hide behind emails when we could have picked up the phone. Hide behind switching off our cameras so that people can't see, and we mute ourselves. So we're making ourselves smaller in one way. But then there's also all these amazing opportunities, because you're seeing people are finding their voices on TikTok, on Instagram. People are sharing knowledge. They are finding side business. They are sharing things. They're finding their voices. And that is so exciting. So we have these two things going on. So if you are finding yourself, and so I want to say, let's take baby steps. Let's take baby steps in finding our voices, because it's bravery. Now, the first point I want to make here is, what is the story you're telling yourself? What is the narrative that you're telling yourself? So is the narrative, I'm shy? Is the narrative, oh, I don't want to speak up in class because maybe it's going to be a stupid question? Or is the narrative, hey, I have something of value to say, so I'm going to speak up in this class? Or I have a question which maybe somebody else wants to ask, so I'm going to speak it. I'm going to ask that question. And usually what you find is when you ask that question, there's so many people going, oh, I'm so glad they asked. So it's about taking those baby steps on your classes, on your group membership, whatever you're doing virtually, start speaking up there. But I think it's about first asking yourself, what is the narrative you're telling? And in 2020, in 2021, things got noisy. And for me, and things sometimes need to get noisy for us to wake up to the noise, you know? So the big noise for me that came through was this narrative of fear. All that fear started coming, boom, 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 boom. And I started telling the narrative of fear. Fear. And then I realized, wait a minute, that's not my story. That's not my truth. So I started making very conscious decisions. And that's what people can start doing, like very conscious decisions of, my narrative is a story of health. I am my truth. This is a big one for me. My truth is health. So you start saying that. You can start saying that. And then amazingly, your story will guide you to that health path. You will be guided to Melissa Lane's wellness program just at the right time. You'll watch your story and be like, boom, this is for me. Somebody might say to you, go jump on a trampoline for your lymphatic system. Okay. So you will be, as more you say, this is my narrative, your narrative will guide you there. So ask the question, what is my narrative? I don't need to be the shy narrative. I can be the person who can confidently speak.
And how can we apply that, the whole story idea? Because I know in my own coaching and in my own life, well, in anything, you'll always revert back to your identity. You'll always revert back to your story. What your inner truth is, whether it's conscious or not, that will always be where you go back to. But what I have seen happen these days is, with the entire social media thing going around, people would have been a lot more confident speaking one-on-one or at work or in a group of friends or something like that. But now, with the whole fear thing, you can say the most innocent thing online and it can be ripped to shreds by what people call trolls and maybe just the odd family member. You know, whoever is on there feels like they have the right to criticize. So I know that in a lot of cases, people don't want to share their truth. They don't want to expose themselves. They don't want to teach that thing, share that insight because of that fear. How can we change our story around that to still show up nonetheless?
Yeah, that's a very big question right now, especially. I think we're all feeling it because there's a mainstream narrative going, and you feel like you need to follow the masses, you need to follow this mainstream narrative that has fear and other sorts of projection, and then you going the other way, yes, then you might get all of that. So I think the first step is baby steps. Like we need to be kind to ourselves. We need to be kind to ourselves as we take these brave steps of speaking our truth. And it might be something, you might have this big thing you want to say, but just take it a small step. Okay. I had a small example where somebody came to me, somebody I love dearly, and she had a problem, and then there was the mainstream, like the people who were giving her advice and saying, do this, and they were victimizing her, and the narrative was her being a victim, and then as a loving friend, I would most probably have to help her tell that story of victim, because you want to feel, oh, a shame, yes. And I just went, and that was also like a big scary moment for me to go, you know what, my truth, and I think, because nobody can fault your truth. So if you come from a space, I think, in my view, I would have handled this situation differently. I don't think it doesn't agree with me, but you're making your decisions. I'll hold that space for you. So hold somebody. I think you can create space for somebody else to have their beliefs, but to just say, but it just doesn't stick with me. And then I walked away. And it was a scary moment because I spoke my truth. And then later that person came to me and she was like, you know what? Like after she went through the whole thing, she went, yeah, that you spoke truth there. But it's not about I told you so, anything like that. It was just that I think the big thing for me in that moment was just to say, this is my truth. It doesn't align with me, and nobody can fault you on your truth. And yes, Melissa, there are trolls out there for the social media question. There are trolls. And it's hard, and I think you've experienced that a lot, and I think it's just being so aligned in your truth.
Yeah.
Just coming to home base, and having a community, choosing your community. I think we've all been going through that a little bit since 2021 to realize, oh, are you part of my tribe? And choosing your tribe, because the more we can choose our tribe and the people who are allowing us to express our truth, and being with people who are expressing their truth, like you, for example, Melissa, you're somebody who expresses your truth. I want to align with somebody like that. It's not a popularity contest.
Yes.
Speaking your truth and finding your voice is about being popular with yourself. And that is the foundation for all of it.
Oh, that is so true. And I think when you mentioned that, I was thinking back on all of the times that I have experienced trolling and all of those things. And what came up was, but they don't know me. And I had this deep need to be understood by people who will just never understand me. And I had to go through this whole thing of absolutely knowing where I might have gone wrong, because sometimes, yes, we slip up.
Yeah.
So did I slip up? Did I miss the mark in some way? If I didn't, why do I have this need to have people understand me? Why do we want to be understood by people who are not meant to understand us? Because it's just impossible. And then I realized social media and this whole digital world that we live in has really created this idea that the more people like you, the better off you are. And the more money you can make, and the better job offers you can get, and the more people look up to you. And it's this, like you said, popularity contest. And I realized, but no, I don't even want the people in my world to understand me. It's so unfair towards them. I'm this multidimensional, amazing being who is still discovering herself. Why do I have this need to be understood? If I open up my mouth and I say something and it's just woo over everyone's heads, that's okay.
Absolutely.
At least I spoke my truth. At least I was authentic in that moment, it doesn't matter. It'll resonate with those who it needs to resonate with. So it really is true. The only popularity contest is between you and you. Do you like you? Do you like your voice? Can you listen to your truth? Can you sit in that vibration? I love that. It is so true, and it really helps with the trolls.
And can I comment on that do you like your voice question? Because there's two things here. Because we have these two voices. There's that inner voice the speaking our truth. The narrative we're telling, the narrative we're creating, even as women, we are recreating the narrative. There's been many narratives passed on from generation to generation, and we are changing those narratives. So that's the one thing. And then there's this other thing where you always hear people say, oh, I don't like the sound of my voice. Oh, I heard my voice on Melissa's podcast. Or I heard my voice on a WhatsApp and I freaked out because I heard my voice. And I love what you've been saying about embracing the sound of your voice. That was also a big thing for me. I had for many years had the experts in my drama classes or acting classes going, oh, no, but your voice. No, your voice, no. So there was a lot of rejection of my voice. And because of a jaw displacement thing, I've got a little bit of a sibilant S. And then they go, oof, you'll never be able to do voiceover work because your S. No, it's a problem. Well, I remember the one day when I went, I'm going to stop trying having this perfect voice. I'm going to stop trying to have this radio smooth, blah, blah, blah voice. I'm just going to accept my voice. And then I felt like as I had that thought, like all this heaviness on my shoulder just went away. I was like, oh, how amazing that I've decided that I don't need to work so hard at changing myself. Like, this is it. So that's like the most liberating thing you can do for yourself is when you go, this is it and this is great. And then the second thing I want to say is I get such a great feeling each time I book voice work. And I've been booking more and more voice work. The more I've accepted my voice, the more voice work I've been getting. And voice work is changing. They're not. So when I talk about voice work, I'm talking about doing a radio commercial. In the old days, they used to just have the smooth, blue, 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 blue voice. But now, radio ads, listen to them. They have a little bit more character.
Yeah.
They have human, real voices. You know, just like we want to see real bodies in the media, mainstream media, like a real female body, we want to hear real voices. So your voice is your power. Accept it. Love it.
It's so powerful. It's so powerful. The other day when I was editing a podcast, someone said, oh, it must be so uncomfortable listening to yourself while you're editing these podcasts. And my initial reaction was, no, it's not. Why are you putting this into my subconscious mind? And I realized, no, it's not uncomfortable because when I was singing, I had to listen back to my voice and listen back to my voice. The voice that was rejected, the voice that wasn't good enough, the voice that cracked, the voice that slipped up, but it's me. And I really think that we need to realize that if you listen to a voice note of yourself or you listen back to a recording of yourself and you hate it, it's something deeper. You're rejecting an aspect of yourself. And it sounds really deep, but it is so true. So embrace that. And one of the ways that I love embracing that isn't talking. It's singing. Sing. Sing when you're alone. Listen to your voice. Allow it to just go through the ethers into the world, whatever. No one needs to hear. It doesn't have to be perfect. We don't want any Adeles in the house. We just want authentic you, and just listening to that and allowing that to be around you, allowing that voice to be around you, speaking up, speaking with confidence, which we'll get to next year. I'm so excited to have you back on next year. But what other tips do you have for us to help us find our voice?
I want our listeners for the season or whenever you're listening to this podcast, try this little exercise is where start asking yourself, what do I want? Okay, so this is going to help you with the narrative that you're creating. And I love what you just said, Melissa, about somebody like projected this narrative on top of you of you need to now not like your voice when you listen to yourself. And you went, not my truth, baby. So, but that's, you know, what you want. I want to You've already said it, embrace all of my voice, have this amazing podcast, reach all these people. Your thoughts are somewhere else. Okay, but back to I want to. When we grew up, social conditioning as little babies, so we want to make our parents happy. Want to make our parents happy. You know, my mom was having Sunday afternoon naps, and she always said, no noise, I'm having a nap. So you want to keep mom happy, no noise. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you want to keep your parents happy. You get to school, you want to keep your teachers happy. Get to varsity, you want to get good marks, you get to a position and work, you want to keep your boss happy. You become a parent, you want to keep your children happy. This is just the way we're conditioned, and obviously it serves its function. And I think especially if you're a people pleaser, for all my people pleasers out there, there's nothing wrong with being a people pleaser. It means you want to serve. You're an uplifter. I'm a people pleaser. We want to serve, uplift, help. But we tend to forget there's not a lot of focus on, but what do I want? What I want in this situation? In a relationship, and maybe you've been in a long-term relationship, and you guys have gotten into a habit of certain things, and you think, but I want to go away for weekends more often. Then start expressing those things. Start saying it. Take those baby little steps of what do I want? Because that's going to create the narrative for you to help create the narrative that you want. If you're setting boundaries and your boss is giving you too much work at 4 p.m., an hour to do a whole day's work, what do I want? I want to go home tonight. I want to feel rested. I want to be my best self. I need to keep the space for myself. So you speak up and you say, that's not going to be possible, but I will get to the rest tomorrow. So a little bit more of what do I want, being kinder to ourselves and speaking up in those little truths. So that's one. And then setting yourself little goals. The next one is, I think there's a lot of your listeners who you have something to share. And maybe this year you started sharing it. Maybe you've been daydreaming about it and you've been brainstorming this side business or this social media account or this coaching thing you want to do. Maybe you're in the process or need to start. So let's, for 2022, this is your time to get that voice out. The world, I know it's very cliche, but the world needs to hear your voice. And you do have something to share in a way that nobody else can share. You have to 2022, end of 2021, start of 2022, start it, do it, speak it, get that message out there. This is your permission slip. You officially have permission.
Oh, I love that. It's so powerful because while you're saying that, I'm thinking back on how I started. And yes, I started singing, but I never spoke in between, say, songs or at a show. And I was always very shy. And then I just really decided, what do I want? What do I want to create when I'm on that stage? And it's the same with the podcast. What do I want to create when I am doing this podcast? Do I want to have this certain vibe? And then I was like, no, I want it to sound like a conversation between friends, and you, the listener, are just part of it. We're all just sitting having coffee and we're just talking about these things that are so important. And I always go back to that. And then I used to set myself goals. I really did. And getting over that goal and just having that progress always made me feel more confident the next time I spoke. And what I would love to add is, there are different mediums that you can use. You don't have to be on camera. You can write. You can make video. You can sing. You can write songs. You can write poetry. You can use your voice in so many different ways, because going back to that whole throat chakra, the energy center that is your identity, you can even speak with just your body language. You can use your inner voice with just the clothes that you're wearing, the makeup that you have on today, the way that you walk into a room, whatever it is. Start with those small things and start where you are comfortable. If you just want to make an inspirational post, do that. If you just want to send someone a text to say, you have been an amazing light in my life, do that. Whatever you need to do to start getting those creative juices flowing when it comes to finding your voice, just start. And don't wait till next year. Start now. Start now. Find your voice now.
Listen, Melissa, I need to say, if anybody's listening to this before 2022, if you're listening to this in the December holiday season, I think we all know in South Africa, so if you're in South Africa, this is a time for family, and families get together, which could be a wonderful time for growth. Because you might need to speak your truth with some of the family members. And it might be leaving a room. That might be, maybe, it doesn't sit well with me, going away. We don't need to be aggressive with our voices. You can choose your voice of love and truth and groundedness. That can be your truth. And so there might be baby steps that you're going to be taking these holidays. And I just want to say, you can do it. Like, it might feel uncomfortable, but that's part of the growth. It's part of what family brings out in us. Right?
I think anytime it's going to be uncomfortable. Anything new, anything that you're doing that you haven't done before, and anything that you're doing where you're so very in your head, really criticizing everything you said and every way you said it and everything you didn't say, it's going to feel uncomfortable. You might have that rush of adrenaline afterwards or just beforehand. That doesn't mean stop. And it doesn't mean that it's wrong.
Absolutely.
People have this idea that anytime you feel physical discomfort, it means it's wrong. And it's not. It's just new. And sometimes that new, that rush, it's like when you step into a cold shower or you have a really great workout or you fall in love. It's the same thing, but it comes back to what is your story? Any kind of discomfort means it's wrong? No, swap that around and say, you know what? I might be so afraid, but I'm going to speak my truth. I might tremble, but I'm going to set that boundary. They might react in a terrible way, but I'm going to stay centered because that's who I am. And then what do I want? Going back to what Ursula said, what do I want to experience? Peace, joy, freedom, fun, for crying out loud. Let's just have more fun. Use your voice in that way. It's such a creative outlet. And, this has been so enlightening. My word.
And then the last step that I want to just to reiterate, take those baby steps. Yeah. Like you said, set those baby goals. It doesn't have to be even starting a podcast. It could be the thing of, okay, next webinar, I'm going to put my camera on. I'm going to be seen. Next webinar, I'm going to put my camera on and I'm going to ask a question in the beginning so I can get it over and done with. So I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to make my voice heard. Going to give you confidence for the next time and the next time. So it's a baby process. Building blocks, building blocks, building blocks.
Absolutely. Ursula, thank you so much for your insights. I love that. I'm so inspired to just use my voice in even more authentic way. That's what I would like to do. Not bigger, not anything, just in a more authentic way. And I'm going to go and think about that. What is my story? Where do I still have fear around that? What do I want? Yes, that's always the most fun. And then taking baby steps towards that goal. But if someone wants to connect with you, learn more about you, just be in your vibration on this little virtual space that we call social media, where can people get into contact with you?
People can follow me on Instagram. It's a platform I am quite active on, Botha, at Botha. And then I have recently started my little business, and my website will be launching in 2022, Confident Voices. And this is a platform where I've been coaching people on finding their voices, speaking with confidence. A lot of experts. There's a lot of experts who have a lot to share, but they don't always know how to share that information, how to put it into words. So we put it into words. We look at how do we present it, how do we use the voice, use the body to get that message across. So Confident Voices, keep an eye out for that. But Botha, and you can email me anytime at ush.botha@gmail.com.
Brilliant. We'll put all of the details down below in the description. But Ursula, thank you so much. Thank you for your inspiration. Thank you for being such a light. I cannot wait to have you on in 2022 again so that we can take this conversation even further and put more action steps towards it. But I really appreciate all of your insights and all of your love. Thank you so much.
Thank you that I could be here with your community. It's an honor, Melissa. It's an honor. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode and taking the time to invest in yourself and in your future. If you loved this episode, be sure to share it with us by leaving a positive review or tagging us in a post or in your stories. Share one thing that stood out or inspired you to live your everyday life better. This helps us create more meaningful episodes for you to enjoy. If you're not already following us on social media, be sure to follow the LifeKraft for more inspiration and tools to help you live your most powerful life. And remember, you always have the power to craft a better life for yourself, and we are here to help you do just that. We'll connect again in the next episode, and until then, keep creating a life that you're excited to wake up to. We enjoy bringing you interviews from experts and everyday people so that they can talk about their experiences and share information, tips, and what has worked for them on their journey towards a better life. However, remember that the opinions or advice of our guests and myself, the host, should not be taken as personal, actionable advice and is given as general information and education only. Please always remember to consult a qualified professional before implementing any medical, financial, legal, or other advice that you believe might work for you. LifeKraft is not responsible nor liable for your decision when implementing anything you hear on the podcast. Please listen and act responsibly. The opinions of our guests do not represent the opinions or views of LifeKraft or Melissa Lane personally and are meant as information and general education only. Education only. Education